Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, a deadline stream for game week 33, and it's live. My name's James, I hope you're all well. We are around about an hour away from the game week 33 deadline. Let me in the first instance, if I can, explain the reasons for the transfers that I've made, which are different to what I'd suggested on the podcast this morning. They were even different from what I suggested I would do on the Patreon podcast we recorded this afternoon. There were large rumours swirling around that Diogo Jota had suffered potentially a serious injury, but I think we have to take Jurgen Klopp at face value. It would be a bad bloody week to lie, to be very honest with you. So I assume that Jota plays, and that has thrown out a suggested idea of mine to buy Wilfried Zaha. I was still going to buy Wilfried Zaha, probably in place of Rafinha, but then the setback for Nat Phillips has forced me into making two defensive free transfers. Gone are Phillips, and gone is Ruben Diaz. In is Ezri Konsa and Stuart Dallas. Yes, I've sold a Liverpool and a Man City defender for an Aston Villa defender and a Leeds defender. Makes sense, doesn't it? Probably not. Anyway, I suggested this morning I would go for Target, but I did also say on the podcast that I would reassess and make sure that I didn't think I needed the extra 0.3 spare in future game weeks. I believe I will need that 0.3. That is why I've gone for Konsa over Target. There is no preference. I would have gone for Target. I think I may need the 0.3. The plan when I'd wildcarded before game week 31 was always to look to get Stuart Dallas back in around about game week 34. I've not overthought it. I've brought back in FPL's highest scoring defender. So I line up 4-4-2 this week. Well aware that I could end up with 9-8 players even possibly. Leno in goal. Fofana, Rudiger, Konsa, Dallas the back four. Captain Mohamed Salah, Jesse Lingard, Diogo Jota, Rafinha, who I obviously do not expect to play. And up front, the Leicester pair of Kelechi Iheanacho and Jamie Vardy. You'll see that team screenshotted on the screen to the top right. Obviously on the bench I've got Fraser Forster unavailable and the three Spurs players all unavailable as well. Below that you will see my captaincy preferences of my top 10 players this week. Mohamed Salah is who I've gone with. I also believe he's the best choice. Personally, I would captain either of the Leicester pair over Bruno Fernandes, but Bruno Fernandes, like any week, is a very reasonable shout if that is the player that you fancy. There are a couple of notable omissions from that captaincy list which I can already guess that people are going to ask. Those are Edison Cavani and Mason Greenwood. We discussed on yesterday's Clash of the Correspondents the idea that Solskjaer likes to repeat tactics when they go well for him. I think Daniel James will play on Sunday for Manchester United. And I also believe that if Marcus Rashford does train tomorrow, he will also probably play. I think Pogba, Greenwood, Cavani, I think probably there's a good chance that two of them won't play. Therefore, from a captaincy perspective, those players are too much of a risk for myself. To the left of the screen, you'll see your schedule for the week. That will flick round in a moment, show you my correct score predictions for the 8 Premier League games this weekend. Below me, you'll see the benching dilemmas. There's 5 pages worth. Listen, bless you if you've got a benching dilemma this week, because most of us are struggling to get 11 on the pitch, so congratulations. And below that you'll see the fixture ticker of the next 5 fixtures for all the teams. Proposed doubles for 35 are not shown on that screen. Let's get into the questions then, guys. We'll make this fast pace or so over the next 50 minutes or so, and I'm happy to take some non-FPL questions for about 15 minutes or so after the FPL deadline has passed. Edwin Guan is fast, says replace Rafinha. Who's best around his price? Best defender under 4.4. Transfer Kane out. I have 0 in the bank. Well, I still think that Harry Kane will probably play on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised that if he's trained today and Tottenham have covered it up. Would not surprise me at all. If in any way he can take painkilling injections, train tomorrow and play on Sunday, he'll play. Fitness won't be a problem because it's only a week worth of not running, so that won't be an issue for him. And it also doesn't matter so much as a centre forward compared to perhaps a midfield player. I know that I want to captain Harry Kane in game week 34. That's why he definitely stays for me. And should Harry Kane not be available, I'll probably captain Heung-min Son. That's why he also stays for me at the moment. So it's just covering the element of doubt there. Either way, that I've probably still got Tottenham captaincy in game week 34. which now we've got rid of the outdated one. Hopefully we'll play some more attacking football now. And do you know what? This time next week, I'm sure plenty of you will be asking me about Gareth Bale. On defender under 4.4, I'd have said to you Nat Phillips. And then I would have said to you Masuaku. They're both injured. What is there available at under 4.4 as a defender? I feel like I even need to check that. I didn't go that far down at looking today because there was nothing obvious that I fancied that was particularly budget. I feel like I'm going to search this for you, Edwin. See what we've got as possible so I can give you a proper answer. On Rafinha, who's best around his price? I think around his price, if you want to get rid and you want to go up to Jared Bowen, would probably be the one. It's not ideal, admittedly, with them playing Chelsea this week, but that's probably where I would have gone at around about that value. I mean, highest scoring defender, 4.4 under, is Joel Veltman. Your timing would be good. I would say that if you need the coverage for this week, I think Joel Veltman gives you the solution, actually. You can play him this week, bench him most of the other weeks. I think that would be the answer. That's who I'd recommend at 4.4 and under. S. Rosson says, hi James, hope you and yours are well. Would you do Son and Diaz to Greenwood and Castagne for 2 free transfers and then maybe Jota to Son next week? I wouldn't want to be wasting at the moment. I'm disappointed that I've had to use 2 free transfers today in an attempt to get 10/11 on the pitch because I really only wanted to use 1 to get as close to 35 before making a late decision as possible, but it's been enforced. If you've got Son now and you want him back next week, and it's the same with Kane, I probably wouldn't bother. Is there anything out there that's that incredible? I mean, if you were saying to me you were going Son to force in someone you were going to captain this week or something, as I've just explained, I'm not even convinced that Greenwood even plays this week. Castagne for Diaz, absolutely reasonable, but I'd consider an alternative. Diaz to Castagne, you get my full support on that. I would look at alternatives if your intention is to go back to Son next week. Elliot says, Kane to Vardy, question, 4 fixtures compared to 2, potentially 1. Yeah, you're spot on. We obviously think there'll be a game week 35 double for Jamie Vardy. However, what I would say about the 4 for 2, which is kind of a Sky fantasy reference, apologies if you don't play it, I don't mean to confuse you. There's every chance Jamie Vardy won't play in the second game with those doubles against Manchester United 3 days before the FA Cup final, particularly if Leicester performed very well in the 3 league games before. So I wouldn't go thinking that far. But yeah, look, Jamie Vardy, he's got a brilliant fixture this week. One of the best captaincy options in my opinion. I know he's not been in brilliant form, but he was great in the first half last night. So I wouldn't have a qualm with it. It's just the same thing. What are you doing next week? If you want to go back to Kane, you're not going to sacrifice Vardy. So what's your captaincy options next week? Yes, of course, you can captain a Vardy or similar away to Southampton. I think you want that. If you're going to get rid of Kane's Son, I've seen a lot of people today with like combinations of Jota, Fernandes, Salah as their hitters who you'd look at regularly and go, oh, they're the captaincy options, and not have any Leicester, and they want to get rid of Kane's Son and not for Leicester players, which I don't really understand that idea at the moment, because next week they're going to look at it and go, oh, I haven't got anyone I want to captain, and you're going to go back for Spurs most likely, so just consider that. Paul Sweeney says already -4 to get 11 players, but 1 being Alonso. Is it worth the extra hit with an eye on blank game week, double game week ahead? Thanks, mate. I tell you what, I had a strong thought this afternoon about the idea, and I explained this on our Patreon Slack channel, the reasoning for why I made the transfers I made and not to force Rafinha out for a -4. 1, at that value, I'd probably be going with Jared Bowen myself, and I really don't think it's worth the -4, personally. I was thinking about the idea today about, is it better to have 7 or 8 really good players and not worry about the rest, or the idea of, I must have 11 because just simply having players there can do you the trick? So I look at my team this week and I think Fofana, Konsa, Salah captaincy, Jota if he plays, Iheanacho, Vardy, that's a great 6 for this week. Like, if I'd have been free hitting, I wouldn't be far from that. Don't get me wrong, if I was free hitting, I'd go Target over Konsa or even El Mohammadi. For those on a free hit, should really consider El Mohammadi this week, but only free hitters. And obviously, if affordable, I'd go Pereira or Castagne over Fofana. But I've got the bulk of what I need basically covered. And if those 6 players perform well, I'll have a good week. The rest doesn't particularly matter. So that's part why I've come to the conclusion not to take the -4 to get rid of Rafinha. And I think it's the same with Alonso. Chilwell for me definitely plays against Real Madrid. I do think Chilwell will probably play again tomorrow as well. But do I think it's worth the -4? Probably not, because you could look at, if you hold your nerve, Chilwell plays tomorrow, Chilwell plays in midweek, you got a good shout of getting Marcus Alonso at home to Fulham next week. I wouldn't bother. Jonathan Hayes, prediction for the League Cup final, 3-0 to Manchester City. I'm obviously a lot more positive than I would have been this time next week, but the reality is, if City turn up and do their thing, City turn up and do their thing, and that's the end of it. But I've got a team I can go and support on Sunday now. FPL Invincible says, good afternoon, I need your advice with a move for TAA or Salah this week. A, Son Diaz to Salah and defender up to 4.9, maybe Veltman Dunk. B, Diaz to TAA and Rafinha to mid up to 5.9. Option A for me, mate. And go with the Brighton players, fine. Declan Burns, hi James, best mid under 6 million to replace Rafinha. Is Bowen under now? I've got to be honest, I'm so out the loop this week with all this Super League stuff. I couldn't tell you half the prices of players in the game or anything. I know people go, oh shit, James, you're normally really knowledgeable. Jared Bowen is 6. You need someone under. John McGinn as a punt. You'd be happy to bench him in other weeks as well as a punt. But the answer to that is that I just wouldn't bother selling Rafinha. He could play this weekend. I know he hasn't trained, but I found that in Bielsa's statement, it was quite telling, that he said, we're taking it day by day with Rafinha. He's not begun full training yet. And then the very next sentence he said was, Rodrigo's definitely out this weekend. He didn't say Rafinha's definitely out, did he? John McGinn would maybe be a punt. There's nothing else at that value that would really interest me. Leandro Trossard, brilliant for this weekend. I'm not sure you want that particularly going forward. That would be an alternative suggestion. FPL Dougal says, hey Jimbo, I have one free transfer left and 11 players this game week. However, Jota and Vidra are rotation risks. Shall I use the free transfer to bring in a reliable bench player or roll it and keep my fingers crossed? Well, it depends what those bench players are. If you're intending to start them next week, I won't bother. Vidra will at minimum get 20 minutes or so at Wolves. I actually think that they'll probably change system again, and I think he might start. And Jota, if he's fit, he'll probably play. So it's probably a no. But if you're going to make it, my friend, I would look ahead towards what you're doing for game week 35 rather than being worried about having the actual cover for this week. If you get a 1 point or a 2 point that covers you a 0 pointer, great. But the chances are, if Jota's fit, Jota and Vidra are still going to have some involvement in that game. So it's probably not going to matter. Tiffy Ferreira says, I can't see Wilfried Zaha in your team. Why is that? I transferred Zaha in after listening to your podcast earlier. I have explained, I tweeted earlier, I can't change the podcast, but I did 100% intend to buy Wilfried Zaha, honestly. And the reason I didn't is because everything's changed. I said on that podcast, it's team news influence, right? If the team news doesn't go the way I expect it to, then the plan will go out the window. And part of that was I expected Jota to be out, and it looks like he's available. So I can't justify going Zaha when Nat Phillips is injured as well. Got 2 defenders injured. They're out. And Rafinha could yet play. And I couldn't get off Nat Phillips to anyone to then get from Rafinha up to Zaha. So unfortunately I had to abandon the plan. I may well come back for Zaha in game week 35. I did want to buy him. Like, genuinely, I'd convinced myself. So I can only apologise, but the situation's changed after team news, I'm afraid. FTLOL podcast, afternoon, James and wildcard in this week. Would you go Schmeichel and Greenwood or Martinez and Maddison or another combo? Don't have 3 players of any team. PS, enjoy Wembley. Thank you, mate. I would go Martinez and Maddison, my friend. Alistair Cobar, hi James. Would you rather do Vestergaard to Veltman or Rafinha to Saka? I prefer Saka to Veltman this week, but feel like Raf is a good hold for later on. You've already answered your question, mate. David Bell, afternoon, James. Thoughts on replacement for Lacazette? 8.3 million to spend. I have Iheanacho and Kane. Thinking DCL. Most people I don't think would advise DCL, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes to that. Yeah, I think it's okay. Arsenal, possibly weakened a little bit. Villa is okay. Then you've probably got the double. Then you've got Sheffield United. Then you've got Wolves. Actually, it's not too bad. So I think, yeah, if I was in that position, ideally, I'd advise to go up to Vardy. But yeah, DCL if you need to come down. Hello, Hacken. Hope you're well. Craig Davis, Watkins or Vardy. 1 week punt. Already have Iheanacho. Vardy for me. Rowan S. Greetings, James. Get Salah for a -4 or get Mane for free. Whoever I get will be the captain. That's a really interesting one. depends, right? You really looking to make up ground? If you're really looking to make up ground, I don't mind so much going Mane. But I think I'd force through the -4 for Salah, actually, on what I've seen this year. I also think if Jota is fit, I actually think Salah, Jota, Mane, Firmino might all play tomorrow. I actually think if Fabinho's going to have to go to centre-back, he might just get Wijnaldum and Thiago to sit in front of that and play the front four and let them go, and the full-backs might have to play with a handbrake on a little bit. I think that's a possibility. But I think Salah after the break on Monday is a sure thing, isn't it? So I would probably take the -4. Good question, though. Pushkar said, is being aggressive the way to go? I have taken -16 hits in the last 3 game weeks while moving from 185k overall to 70k overall. On this note, which 3-4 template breakers should we target next? Anybody who hasn't listened to the podcast earlier is not going to understand really what was going on in my head, and I really can't bother to explain it again. But he could be one come game week 35. Calvert-Lewin. There isn't anything really appealing from Villa, unfortunately. Otherwise, it just doesn't appeal without Jack Grealish there. If he was fit, Jack Grealish all over it, I'd say. Perhaps a Brighton player. Come back around. Leeds players, possibly going to break that next week. But I think Bamford, Rafinha and Dallas are all still popular enough, aren't they? So, in terms of is being more aggressive the way to go, the thing is, for every time it works, there's a time where it doesn't work. And you can't use what happened on one occasion to historically judge what should happen in the future. So it's worked for you on this occasion. So obviously for you it was the right thing to do, and you probably feel comfortable to keep doing it, and that's absolutely fine. But it doesn't mean that it'll always work. GK16, hi James, thoughts on going Castagna over other Leicester defenders? Thanks. I think Brendan Rodgers' comments probably make him the standout call over Pereira, in my opinion. Also, if he's going to play right wing back going forward, Pereira did play on the left side in the Cup semi-final, then that's better for him from an attacking output perspective. Absolutely, definitely. So I think if you can get up to him, yep, I would say pay the extra over your Fofanas, Evans, Yinchus. Yep, I'd go with that. Sammy B says, hey James, hope you're doing well. Looking for a 1 week replacement for Son, Jota or Greenwood? I'm going to say Jota actually now. I think for those who missed the first minute or so, to clarify on Jota, so a lot of us heard strong rumours that he picked up an injury. Then he wasn't photographed in training. Then there was an overnight rumour that went round that the injury was very serious, like really serious. Where it come from, I don't know. It was passed on to me by a few different people in good faith. It looks like it's not true. If it is true, and Klopp has said in his press conference today that he was fine and he's not, he's bang out of order. And not from a fantasy perspective. It's really not the week for anybody to be lying, considering all the stuff that's happened with the Super League. So I think we have to take Klopp at face value and assume that Jota is fit. Therefore, I will say Jota. Theodore says, hi James, who would you sell between Kane and Reguilon? The players coming in would be Vardy and Castagna respectively. I'd sell Reggie, mate. I'd sell Reggie. There's no sign of Ben Davies being fit soon, to be honest. That's the word that I'm hearing. He probably will be back before the end of the season, but I think Reggie should be pretty secure at the moment. But it's the better one to sell because of the power of Kane as a potential captain next week. Unless you obviously want to get Vardy in, you just have to know what your contingency is if you want to go back. Hello, Joe Finley, Badder, my spanner. I hope you're well, mate. Ian O'Neill, best of luck this week, mate. Cheers for the content. Just outside top 10k myself, hoping to break back in it. Good luck. Downstairs afternoon, mate. Already done Son to Salah. Would you take -4 to go Diaz to an extra Wolves defender? Already have Cody, but only 9 players for this week. One of whom is Leno. Leno, I think, will play. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. If he doesn't, it doesn't. Excuse me. I don't particularly expect him to return. I'm expecting a 2-pointer, so I'm not overly fussed. A -4 for a Wolves defender. It's going to be a no from me. I actually think Burnley are the more likely winners in that fixture between the two, so I'm going to have to say no. Damien Rozalski, James, you need to keep your word of bringing in Wilfried Zaha this week. Please don't cheat. Look, I've put all the messages out to say, look, I'm sorry, I can't do it now. Go back and listen to the podcast. I said, if I get spooked by the team news or something goes the way I didn't anticipate, then I'll have to change. Simple as that. We recorded another podcast on Patreon at 1 o'clock, and my intention was still absolutely to buy Wilfried Zaha. I didn't have a doubt. I was actually more convinced after recording the podcast that I was going to do it. So the situation's changed, right? I thought Jota was unavailable. He's available. But why am I going to force it now? It's a different game. I was looking at having 2 midfielders this week, Salah, Lingard. I might have 4 based on the team news today. So I can't do it. I can't even take the -4 to go Rafinha to Zaha. So I can't do it. Josh Hincliffe, hi James, thoughts on Bruno to Salah for a -4 and captaincy, otherwise on Vardy, cheers. I think I'd just go Vardy, to be honest, mate, personally. Bruno, any game, any time. I expect there'll be goals in that game, so no, I probably wouldn't bother. James says, transfer out Alonso for a hit, only have 11 playing, thinking of Castagna. Not for a hit for me. Although, to be fair, you'll probably see the gains on that. I mean, I'd anticipate Leicester for a clean sheet this week, and you'll probably fancy him for more in the next 2 game weeks. I guess specifically with Alonso, a little bit what I answered for an earlier question. You could walk into him quite easily at home to Fulham next week, which will look great if you hold your nerve. So just consider that would be the advice. Shane Mibb, hi James, I have a non-playing bench and Lacazette in the starting 11. Who's the best Lacazette replacement? 8.5 million or less. Well, if you haven't got Iheanacho, it's very straightforward. Otherwise, right, it probably is Calvert-Lewin. Atul says, hey James, on a wild card this week, what do you think of Harrison as an asset, as I'm sure of Rafinha? I think you mean I'm sure. If not, is there anyone better in that price bracket? Thank you and good luck. Don't mind Harrison as a differential idea to that. It's definitely not the worst shout. I would prefer to go to Bowen, personally, if you can. But down to Harrison, to be honest, Harrison probably is a better shout than John McGinn, who I said earlier. McGinn would be another one maybe to mention. I don't mind it. It's absolutely fine. Sanik says, Kane out for Vardy for a -4. Not for me. Not if you want to go back. If you don't want to go back, crack on, do it. Pushkar says, you think bringing in Veltman and Castagna instead of Jamal Lewis and Cresswell for a -4 works. I want to strengthen my bench too to play bench boost in game week 35. Just a caution on game week 35. Before that week even starts, mate, you're going to have a nightmare. Even if you were free hitting, you'll have a nightmare picking players who will play twice. Honestly. Going to be an absolute nightmare. You got United and Arsenal will double 3 days after they play in the league, which is 3 days after they play in Europe. So they've both got three games in 6 days. And Leicester and Chelsea's 3 days is going to be 3 days before they play in the FA Cup final. You're going to have an absolute nightmare finding players that will play twice. That's the warning on the bench boost, by the way. But getting rid of Jamal Lewis seems absolutely reasonable. Cresswell, they want to assess. They're not definitely ruling him out. I would think that Cresswell probably doesn't play for West Ham. That would be my instinct. So on that basis, you probably, and if I'm backing Liverpool to get 4, you should make it back on appearance points, and I'm backing both to keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to say yes. Excuse me, sorry. Zaris says, do you think Masuaku will start? My wildcard was a disaster. 3 red flags. Greetings from Greece, my friend. You look like Raymond Reddington from Blacklist. I've had worse, mate. Excuse me, sorry. No, I don't think Masuaku will start. There seems to be more indication that Cresswell was the more likely of the 2 players to return, so I don't think so. My instinct is that probably neither return. Joe Finney Badder, good luck, James. I'm rolling on a river this week. Rolling on a river. And might be in the pond tomorrow in Watford Town Centre. Ah, yes, Watford. 2 points away, I believe, from promotion. Sheila says Bruno and Phillips to Lingard and TAA with 2 free transfers. Yeah, I don't mind that so much. I mean, I'm not big on the Bruno to Lingard, but facilitating you getting TAA as part of that, yeah, I'm good for that. Jonathan Albert says Phillips and Bruno to Trent and Maddison from -4. Got a full Spurs, Kane, Son, Reguilon bench. Yeah, got the same. I'm going to say yes. I think Trent over Phillips alone actually could prove worth it. Even if not on the immediate, I think going forward, yes. If you've got no intention of captain Bruno in upcoming game weeks, just perhaps reconsider game week 35 maybe, then yeah, you've got my blessing for that. King Flipper loves Beck Olivia. Do you, mate? Is Gareth Bale and Wilfried Zaha worth buying from next week for 4 game weeks? Your thoughts? I'm not speaking about Wilfried Zaha again. Yes, I may well be going for Zaha myself come game week 35. I think he'll prove very popular. I'm really hoping he does nothing in the next 2 game weeks, Wilfried Zaha, because I want to get him in 35. I want him to punish me like he does every time I buy him. But I'm a slave to punishment, actually. And on Bale, well, I think we'll get a big clue tomorrow if Bale plays the final. The problem with Gareth is he could break down with an injury at any time. But yeah, look, Sheffield United, Wolves, Villa, the 3 home games are good. Leeds would be a very tough game for him because of the intensity of it. But I think we'll get big clues tomorrow. So yeah, quite possibly. Martin Boyle says, hi mate, hope you're well. Just finished listening to this week's pod. Did I hear you correctly if you said Stone's challenge was an orange? What do you think of a 10-minute sin bin in football? Good luck. Not keen on a 10-minute sin bin in football because I think it's difficult to define. I'm not keen on it, actually. But yeah, I think it was an orange in the sense that it was definitely more than yellow, but I'm not quite sure it was a red. I don't think it was as bad as Cooper's challenge on Jesus, even though they were quite similar. I think Cooper's was definitely a red. I think Stone's was, as I said, it was orange. So I don't have a problem that that's the conclusion that they come to. I just feel with them quite a lot. I don't think if you polled everyone, not everybody would think that's a red card, and therefore the original decision should probably stand. JM says, hi James, not going to ask whether I should bench Dallas over Shaw and Rudiger, as I can see on screen. Oh, thank goodness. But I'm interested in the reasoning behind it. So I don't fancy any of them for a clean sheet this week. So therefore, you've got kind of the double jeopardy possibility with Dallas and Shaw from the attacking perspective. And of course, Rudiger can obviously score from a set piece or something as well. But that's the reasoning. It's attacking output potential. William Jones, hi James, best replacement for Craig Dawson. Still have the free hit in hand, looking to play it in game week 35. That's probably going to be the best way of dealing with game week 35, I think. It probably is going to be a free hit. Best replacement for Dawson. So Brighton player, perhaps. Alternative, he'd stick with a West Ham. Ogbonna, possible, as an alternative. Probably can't get up to a Leicester. If you can get up to a Leicester, that seems fairly straightforward, but yeah, if you were intention to bench Dawson in a few upcoming fixtures, I think Brighton is probably your solution. And Veltman does the job for you. Albus89 says, hi James, Rafinha to Greenwood and keep him, or Son to Bruno and reverse to Son next week, or do nothing. I already have 11 starters. If I make the move, bench one out of Rudiger, Shaw, Cody, Konsa. They're all on the benching dilemma screen. All 4 of those players. So the answer's on there, mate. Rafinha to Greenwood and keep. I'm not keen. Honestly, I know Greenwood and Cavani really popular, and I'm not particularly going to put anybody off. I can only tell you personally that I'm not particularly keen. I can see rotation for both of them still in Europe. It feels like a bit of a nightmare to me to go down that route. I'm not keen. I'm going to say no. Pete Haley says, hi James, have Masaraku, not sure whether to swap him out or not, and hope he plays. I only have 4.3. If I get rid, I have 2 free subs. What to do? Thanks and good luck. I'm not sure I understand your question there, Pete. I don't think Masaraku will play. With only 4.3, you're not going to get a lot. Veltman 4.4. Is there anything at 4.3? I don't, with a decent fixture this week, I don't think there is. I'm just having a little scan through teams this week. There's nothing really. It's Veltman at 4.4 is about the cheapest that I'd recommend. So it might be a case of holding your nerve, Pete. And just going without. Sunshine says, who should I buy, Maddison or Greenwood? That's Maddison. Frodo says, hi James, your thoughts on going from Bruno to Son in game week 34? Standard, yeah, you're going to probably make that move. FPL telling Josh, hey James, Fofana or Konsa transfer in for Phillips this week? Can't decide who. Already have Ricardo Pereira, but unsure if he starts. Faults, spread risk and go Konsa. No, I would prioritise getting Leicester players over everything else at the moment, personally. So definitely the Leicester player for me. I wouldn't be concerned about Ricardo Pereira not starting. He's just had the break. It should be fine. He's part of Leicester's first choice 11. The choice probably got influenced by the fact they've then got to play Monday and Friday next week. So I think Pereira will play. Sage says start Vidra or Soufal. That'd be a Vidra for me, mate. Go with a forward. I reckon Vidra get back in the team this weekend. Stian says, oi Gav, by chance is your new pod venue located near a daycare centre? Harry needs to be on every pod. Yeah, it's one for those who listen to the audios today. Eshen says Rafinha to Maddison or play Burn Target. Well, Burn Target, both great. But you've got them as benching headaches. I'll be playing them both this week, I think. Back both for a clean sheet. But I can't argue with buying Maddison either. Choice is yours. You're going to be in a lot better position than most people this week. Cole says, start Jack Harrison over Rudiger. Yes, I would, mate. Nicola Torco, hi James, how's it going? Would you still consider this game week 33 to be the best time to use a late wild card? Thanks and have a great weekend. You wild card this week. What are you doing with the Spurs, guys? Are you going to go 3 Spurs on the bench for next week? Are you going no Man City? I think it might be that what's happened today with the injuries, it might have maybe forced me to do it. I think if I hadn't used it this week. But I think ideally next week would be better, probably. Vintney Soccer says Rafinha to Greenwood for a hit. It's a note. Keenan Davis will be my 11th player if I do so. It's an outside chance that Keenan Davis could start, I guess. Obviously played the second half against Man City in midweek. Villa are really struggling for goals this week, lately. It's worth noting that Wesley could make his first appearance in the squad this season for Villa, but he definitely won't start, Wesley. I don't hate that, Keenan Davis this week. What's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is doesn't get on the pitch. There's every chance he will. Eshen says, do you think Kane will be rested versus Sheffield United? Why in the world would he be rested for Sheffield United? He's injured. He ain't going to be rested, is he? Literally zero chance if he's fit. Other plays we done. What are you resting him for? The game 7 days later. No, he'll either be fit or he won't. S Nagani 25. Hey James, of 10 playing plus Masaraku and Phillips, but only 0.4 in the bank. Do you reckon Konsa or Soufal in for Masaraku, or roll for more info on doubles? I think I would maybe push it actually. Veltman obviously the other alternative again to consider. I bought Konsa myself, so I would consider it. Yes, just to have a look further forward. And make sure that it's definitely Masaraku you want to sell. Otherwise, you might find Phillips to Veltman is an alternative. Andrew Jarvis, is it worth a -8 to manoeuvre Salah into the team? In my opinion, no. Definitely not if you've got Iheanacho or Vardy. Or Fernandes. Any of them's fine for captaincy this week. Softcore Zeg, any news on Lacazette? Will he play this week? Worth to keep. Definitely won't play this week, mate. Hamstring injury. Arsenal were not making any noises about him missing game week 34, but personally I'd be surprised if he is available. JFPL says, hi James, how do we get 16, 24-year-olds interested in football? You know what, I was wondering that as well, Jay. It's gutting, isn't it? Got a whole generation there, 16 to 24-year-olds, not interested in football. What do we do? Maybe we should ask Florentino Perez what his idea is. Fucking bellend. Not you, Jay. Perez. Mansour Ali says, should I transfer in Greenwood for Son? Sorry guys, repeat this. Delete your Greenwood questions. It's generally going to be a no from me. If you feel it, go with it. I'm not big on it. Daniel McAdams, I have no idea what my transfers are this week. No questions. Good luck, James. Thanks for the content. Thank you, Daniel. Jovial says, hi, James. Should I do Ruben Diaz and Gundogan to Trent Alexander-Arnold and Bukayo Saka? If not Saka, then who else? 5.4 million in the bank. I would prefer to go Harrison over Saka, but I'm not sure that Harrison's that cheap. Saka's reasonable, but he is going to suffer rotation, I'm fairly sure. I think he'll play tonight, but in upcoming weeks. You can judge it in upcoming weeks. Saka should be good to go to start tonight. Lincoln begs, hey mate, is Mendy back in goal? Thomas Tuchel said that Mendy will play in goal. If he doesn't, shoot him. Don't shoot me. Carl Winfield, hi James, any suggestions for Neto replacement for under 6.5 million? And who would you recommend to bring in for Marcos Alonso? I can't go, Leicester's already have 3 players. Jared Bowen, but I would look at, can you go up to Trent if you haven't got? And then what does that leave you money-wise? I would consider that. Jared Bowen, otherwise non-Leicester, I would drop right down. And personally, I would consider Villa as a rotator. You need to have the cover, but I'd consider that, and then you can spread the money back again next week. It might be something that gets you back from Vardy to Kane, should you want to, for example. Sam Thomas's thoughts on James Rodriguez as a punt. My thoughts are he'll probably get injured tonight. If not tonight, next week. And if not next week, the week after. Unfortunately, that's where we are with James. Great player, but you're probably making that transfer with 35 possibly in mind, I'm guessing. And what's the chance of him making it 2 weeks? I'd want to buy James Rodriguez with Ancelotti telling me in the press conference before they play West Ham that he's absolutely fine. It's going to be a no from me, mate. You're very welcome, Edwin. Vivek Gore, who would you pick between Traore, Wolves and Trossard as a Rafinha replacement for the next 3 game weeks, considering both of their fixtures? Leandro Trossard for me. don't think of Traore as a FPL asset. I know returns in 3 consecutive games. Just not big on that. Not big on that at all. Eshner says start 2 of Target, Burn and Rudiger. I have to say Target and Burn. Back in the 2 of them for clean sheets. Nick Jones, favourite beer, Brewdog. Craig Fleming, would you take a -4 for McGinn in for Gundogan or just wait to bring in Rafinha next week? Not -4 for someone like John McGinn. No. You need him to score to pay you back. You really believe it? If you really, really believe it, and I know he's got returns in successive games, a goal and an assist, but nah. Alex Mann, what do you think of Martinelli as an uber differential punt? Aubameyang and Lacazette out, may well be up front and ready for a run of games, having played 2 in a row. I'm glad that you've asked that question, because I'm surprised I haven't had any Eddie Nketiah questions yet, because you would think with Aubameyang and Lacazette out that Nketiah plays up front. I got a feeling it could be Martinelli actually, but it is that. It could very easily be that it's Pepe, Smith Rowe, Saka, and then Nketiah up front, and then Martinelli doesn't play, and that's why neither have been on my mind this week. Garlic25 says, evening James, any suggestions for KDB? I have Salah, Jota, Smith Rowe and Rafinha. Also worried about my rotation defence. Okay, I need some solid picks, thanks. Thoughts on KDB? Sell. I think it's almost at that bit, if it's free transfers, almost at that bit for the majority of City's first choice team, i.e. the Diaz, KDB. I think we put Phil Foden in that bracket now. Gundogan. What's the chance of them playing at Palace next week? Tottenham Sunday, PSG Wednesday, Palace Saturday, PSG Tuesday. Which game do you think they're going to rotate for? It's not to say these guys won't play at Palace, but you want to sit with Kevin De Bruyne in your squad for 2 weeks and he might not even play, and he's been injured. They'll probably force him through for PSG. I don't think he'll play in the cup final. I think if he does, it'll be as a substitute. And then you come back to game week 35 and he's got Chelsea anyway. And you've got the likes of Bruno with a double, Liverpool players at home to Southampton. He can go. Unfortunately, he can go, and I love KDB. That's a super player. Ashton says, Son to Salah from -4 or Rafinha to Maddison for free. Maddison for free, mate. Milan the villain. Hi, James. Sell Son and get Salah, or sell Kane and Rafinha out, and Salah and Iheanacho from -4. That's powerful. And get Kane back next week for free transfer. Cheers and good luck. Well, for me to advise that, I'm desperate to know how you're going to get Kane back with a free transfer. Are you sure you've worked that out? Hacken says, hi again. Here's the question. Would you go Alonso to Trent, Ings to Watkins, -4? Gives me 11. For free Spurs, no Bruno or Salah. Would you do an extra -4 to get in Salah? Probably wouldn't force it, because you'll probably find you want to move Salah back on next week. If that's the way you end up going, then you want him back again in game week 35. So I think, know that if you're going, go. I don't mind that -4 actually. I think that's fairly decent, considering you probably got in Alonso and Ings, probably 2 players who probably don't play this weekend, and you've got Trent and Watkins. I quite like that. I'd say yeah. I'm not sure about the extra -4 for the Salah though. Plus he's selling. J Lodge, best net replacement, mate. Got 5.8 in the bank. Thinking Bertrand Traore. I think that's I want to cover game week 35. I just don't feel him as an FPL asset at all, personally, Bertrand Traore. I'd prefer to go to Harrison, I think. To be honest, if McGinn carries on in the position he's been playing in the last 2 or 3 games, with Marvellous Nakamba sitting behind Luiz and John McGinn, I'd actually prefer McGinn over Traore. FPL Hitman says Diaz, Nat Son, Nat Phillips obviously, to TAA Veltman, Rashford, or TAA Greenwood, Dallas, both -8 options, or just Diaz, Phillips, TAA. I can't believe you've asked such a shit question, my friend. The fuck? There's so much going on. You want me to remember all that as I read it out. Diaz, Phillips, Son to TAA Veltman, Rashford. I wouldn't go Rashford. He might not even be fit. TAA Greenwood, Dallas. Sounds better, but again, I'm not particularly keen on Greenwood. Both -8 options. Or just Diaz, Phillips to TAA Veltman, -4. The fucking last one, bruv. FPL sub. And I mean that as well. Maddison captain. Good luck. I don't hate that. Static says, done my transfers already, mate, but hope you and the family are well. Thank you for your hard work, bud. Cheers, buddy. Elisa says, Vardy for Kane or Maddison for Son. I would go Vardy for Kane in that scenario, but I would definitely want Harry Kane back next week. Edwin Grant, Burn or Webster, my bank is too low. I think because of White's red card in the week, you're possibly a little bit safer with Webster, but I'm guessing they're both under Veltman's price and you can't get there. Just about Webster, mate. I think Dan Burn could easily miss out and Moda comes back in. Webster could also miss out. Potter named 3 players that he was concerned about that he'd kind of assess ahead of the game, and those were Burn, Webster and Danny Welbeck. Of those, I think Webster will play and the other 2 probably won't. That's my instinct. Darren Way, hi sir, would you take a -4 to do Alonso to TAA? Already did Aguero to Vardy. Or should I do a -12 for Phillips, Son and Kane to Watkins, TAA and Salah captain? No, I'll do the -4, mate. Ben M, who to bench? Need to play 2. Rudiger, Fofana or Veltman? I'd be benching Rudiger, mate. Expecting clean sheets for the other 2. Cheers, loving the work. Got me 2 of my mini league and in the top 11 Clay. You and Suj are legends. Thank you. Cheers, Ben. Alden says Aspi, KDB and Bruno into 2 Pereira, Ricardo, Salah and Greenwood for a hit. No. I'd be looking to manoeuvre KDB to something off that is what I'd be looking to do, I think. And TJ says, hi James, hope you're well. Do you think bringing in Ben Johnson's 3rd bench is a good idea in view of Masuaku and Cresswell injury? Need to free some funds to get Salah. Thank you, James. Well, if you're lucky, you'll get Johnson playing this week. Masuaku and Cresswell could both be available this week. I don't think they will be, but they're obviously close. It's not serious injuries. So if you're happy that you're definitely not going to need that bench spot, crack on, mate. He's cheap as, isn't he? What, 3.9 or something? Samuel Robertson, -4 for Kane to Vardy or Rafinha to Adama. Not be taking a hit for Adama Traore. That'll answer that one. J-Lord Broski, hey James, am I mad? Nothing's mad, my friend, other than me mentioning possibly getting Wilfried Zaha this morning. A -8 to get Salah and Suyuncu means losing Jota, Nat Phillips and Son. Jota can outscore Salah, can't he, if he's available, mate. Won't be near 11 players if I don't, thanks. But if you've got good players, it's the key point as a reminder. If you've got 8 or 9 players this week, are they good players? Because that'll carry you through. Don't just get someone for the sake of it. Just to get 11. I'm not expecting 11 this week. I'm expecting 10, possibly even as low as 8. And I'm relying on the other players to do something for me. Zubin says, hi James, Mendy or Martinez? That's on the bench in dilemmas, my friend. If it's not, then I'd be staggered. But I can tell you, Martinez. Yulog, are we overthinking it? Kane is injured, Son is fit. Kane to Vardy or Cavani. We already have Maddison and Kaleshi. Good luck. Don't overthink it then. Get Kane to Vardy. I just keep repeating this. You're going to probably want Kane back next week. And if you do, and you go Vardy, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, it's blatantly obvious Vardy over Kane this week. Of course, Kane doesn't have a game. But next week, you're possibly going to want Harry Kane back. And you're probably not going to want to sell Jamie Vardy. Because he's still going to have Southampton and Newcastle to go. And Newcastle probably is the first game of a double. Although there's every chance he won't play in the second game. That's all you have to think about. Are you sure that you don't want to go back to Kane next week? Because you're going to find it difficult without then taking another -4. So before you make move A, understand what moves B and C will be. If you're happy with what B and C will be, by all means, crack on with A. Dan J. Porter, hi James, just wondering if you could explain your reasoning for Dallas over Rudiger in the benching dilemmas. Cheers. No probs, scoring potential. As in actual scoring potential, which also leads to FPL points. He's the highest scoring defender in the game. When are we going to start accepting this? That he's been an amazing FPL asset. He's the highest scoring defender in the game. It makes you question why you would ever leave him out. Tom Bolton, start holding or Vidra. Be a Vidra for me. My instinct is he'll come back in for Burnley. Brian Yule, how do you feel about Martinelli? I did cover that a little while ago, Brian. Rowan says, would you pick Veltman or hold him for the remainder of the season? Thanks. Me now, I'd pick Veltman. Because David Luiz is nearing a return. And that will threaten Holding's place. Callum Mates, hey James, all sorted. Just wanted to appreciate the collective outrage we all shared for the European Super League and your coverage. Best of luck for game week 33. Thank you, Callum. Good luck, my friend. Nick says, Watkins and Salah or DCL and Mane? I can't justify Mane at the moment. So it's going to be Watkins and Salah. Shane083, is Kane definitely out? Well, he won't play in the Premier League this weekend. But is he out for the weekend? No. Careful what you read online. Go and actually read the quotes of what Ryan Mason said. Ryan Mason said, he's not been able to train today. We're taking it hour by hour. We'll see tomorrow. That's what he said. If Kane trains tomorrow and doesn't have a bad reaction, he'll play on Sunday. If he has a bad reaction or doesn't train, he won't play on Sunday. I promise you, to be honest, even if he doesn't train tomorrow, Tottenham will say to him, do you want to walk on it Sunday morning? If he can walk on it, he'll probably play. Honestly. Sheila says, Bruno and Phillips to Lingard and Alexander-Arnold with 2 free transfers. Or Son and Phillips and Rafinha to Smith Rowe, TAA, Lingard for -4. I prefer option 1, mate. Joe Finney Batter, would you start Lookman or Ward-Prowse? Thanks, mate. Well, I think, Joe, you're probably looking at a 0-pointer from both, but alphabetically, let's go with Lookman. Stefan B says, hi, James. Do you like either of these moves for a hit? Diaz to Castagna or Rafinha to Greenwood? I think I'd probably prefer Diaz to Castagna. Hello, Jassim Jazz, Daniel Pedersen. Hey, James, why Nacho over Vardy as captain choice? Vardy on pens. That's why we cap Kane, Bruno, Salah over Son, Rashford, Mane, right? Lover, your content. Just curious. Okay, yeah, let's do it just on penalties, or let's look at how fucking on fire Iheanacho is. That's it. It's simple as that. It's literally it. Just look at their points over the last 4 or 5 game weeks or so and what Iheanacho's doing. The man is on fire. He should have got a hat-trick the other night. Vardy didn't have a lot else bar the goal in front of goal. So Iheanacho probably should have outscored Vardy even on Monday night. So it's as straightforward as that. Playing Palace, we think they're going to win 1-0 with a penalty. If you do, captain, go for Vardy. Simple for me, really. Cal says, evening, James. If you had to, can I just say, if Iheanacho and Vardy were the same price at the moment, I would buy Iheanacho. It's just a complete no-brainer for me. He's on fire. Cal said, evening, James. If you had to bench one from Smith Rowe, Alonso, Dallas plays. Well, I don't think Alonso will play. I don't expect him to keep clean sheets. So just by default, I say Alonso. That's never the sort of player that you want to leave out. But I think that's probably going to be my answer, is Alonso. Lalo Tree, hi James. 2 free transfers, Son and Jota to Maddison and Trossard. Faults. Jota's available, so we think. Keep. You obviously want to do something because you've got 2 free transfers. My advice would be make 1. And therefore, in your position where it's going to be very easy to go back should you want to, because you're going to have 2 free transfers next week, my honest advice would be, unless you've got serious value built up in Heung-min Son to Maddison, and leave it at that. DJ Mandum, hi James, great content as always. Play 2 from Dean, Azpilicueta and Veltman. Fingers crossed Kane doesn't do more damage playing in the cup final. Worried England fan. Listen, he's always capable of doing his ankles. It's the way he strikes a football. So that when he takes the whack, I mean that one on Friday night, I don't know, that was one that looked so innocuous. It could have happened to anyone. Someone's body weight's gone on top of his ankle and stuff, right? You shouldn't really leave out Deans and Aspis for Veltmans, but I think on this occasion, you've got to play Veltman, I think, because of the opposition. Possibly at wing back, although to be confirmed. I would go Azpilicueta over Dean. Don't particularly fancy either for a clean sheet, but I think just you can have a lot more faith in Chelsea at the moment, can't you? So be bench Dean, unfortunately. It's nice to see someone's actually got some benching dilemmas. James Nelson, thanks for the brilliant content, James. Have a great time at Wembley. Fingers crossed let's pass that COVID test tomorrow first. Advance an earlier question between Mane and Salah coming in. Who would you pick? Bringing Mane in would allow keeping Kane. That's possibly going to have a bearing and an influence. Can Sadio Mane outscore Mohamed Salah? Yes, we know, we absolutely know that's possible. By the way, guys, I'll make it about 10 minutes to deadline. Do make sure you get those teams locked in. I'm going to say yes in that case. If it means keeping Kane, I think it's probably worthwhile to take the differential in that case and then go for Mane. Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that as okay. Nigel Sam, hey James, why do you have Rafinha in a benching dilemma? Is he not out for a while? He might play this weekend. Is he red? Or is he orange? I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if Rafinha plays on Sunday. Also consider that for Leeds, this is their game. They're big game. Don't get him on the pitch, they'll get him on the pitch. So Bielsa didn't even say he was out. I've not heard anything to suggest that he's out for a while. Jassim Jazz, play 2 of Saiss, Reece James, Holding. I'm playing TAA and Dallas as other 2 defenders. Good luck with the weekend. You want to play 2. So who am I leaving out from Saiss, Reece James and Holding? By default, Holding. It's also the least attacking threat of the 3. I feel that all 3 will probably concede. So I'm going to say leave out Holding. Gobbin says, hi James, Veltman for Phillips. Can't argue that, mate. Shano83, scrap my cane question, mate, and ignore my brain fart. 3 a.m. here, nearly very tired. Go to bed, mate. Lock your team, go to bed. Jason Dick, good afternoon from Toronto, James. What are the chances that Cavani starts this week? I would group Cavani, Greenwood, and Pogba slightly above, but I'd group them at between 60 to 70%, honestly. One Rovers Vlogs, Mane and Greenwood or Salah and Saka. I'm going to say Salah and Saka, mate. Alejandro, I'm currently on Mendy and Rudiger, but I'm concerned that Rudiger may be benched. Same thing could happen to me, mate. Thoughts on moving him on for Saiss? Already have Cody or Holding? No. Definitely don't move to Holding now. Like I said, David Luiz might be back next week. That could put a real spanner in Holding's minutes. You're not going to want 2 Wolves defenders by the time you walk round to game week 36 would be my suggestion. I think sit on it. If it doesn't play, doesn't play. I don't fancy a clean sheet for Wolves this week, honestly. Daniel Pedersen, wait a minute, 3-2 to Leeds, mate. Wow, do you really back that? Would love it. Yes, listen to yesterday's Clash of the Correspondents. That's exactly what I predicted at the end. Ray Qureshi, at the Emirates protest, James, just want to say I love you, as you know, and more likes on this stream. Jabronis, yeah, give the stream a like if you're having a good time and all that. Hit the subscribe button while you're there. Makes Suj happy. Also makes me happy. Thanks, appreciate it. Good luck to you too, Ray. Be safe tonight. Shano83, Diaz and Son out for Bruno and Cody. Would be a -4. I mean, Holding Kane. Diaz and Son out for Bruno and Cody. Yes, on the immediate, you're going to get it back. You're also probably going to go Bruno back to Son next week, I should imagine. Sif says, hey James, looking for an Alonso replacement. Think between an Everton defender and a Villa defender. Everton fixtures seem better long term. Yes, they probably do. And the obvious answer is Luca Dean. If you can get a Luca Dean, just do it. Pay the extra. Garlic25, KDB suggestions please, James. I have Salah. Sell. Come down significantly. Maddison would be first choice. Gurav says, hello James. Vidra or Holding, who to start? Already have Leno, Vidra. Durgesh, any Rashford injury news? Only what's been reported in the media today. Not trained today, could train tomorrow. Game's not till Sunday. Ricky Saunders, hi fella, really struggling on the captaincy. What is your rationale for going Salah over Nacho? A rationale is that I think Liverpool could blitz Newcastle this weekend, actually. That's my rationale, my friend. Simple as that. I'm backing Liverpool to win 4-1 and Leicester 2-0. It's fairly standard, actually. I really think this could be the weekend that Liverpool go off. Magic says Dallas or Wan-Bissaka. To play, Dallas. To buy, Dallas. I guess that's really straightforward, isn't it? I don't know why I'm overthinking that. Wan-Bissaka never crossed my mind today. James, still have wildcard and bench boost. Any advice on when to use them given selecting players in double game week 35? This bench boost 35 is going to hurt people. It's the best thing to do and you should go for it. That is the right answer. That you've got 8 teams with a double. You should try and set up for it as best you can. Therefore, the answer is wildcard 34. But I really believe that rotation in 35 for United, Chelsea, Leicester, Arsenal is going to be absolutely brutal. I would think the majority of players in those 4 teams won't play twice. And I potentially even include people like Bruno Fernandes in that, honestly. It's going to be bad. Really bad, I think. Scott Fairley said, how you doing, mate? Does Forster still keep starting? Cheers. I have a clue, mate. McCarthy played the last game, so you'd have to ask Ralph. It looks like they're going to keep getting rotated. Ain't got a clue. For me, it's a problem once I get to game week 36, not before. That's when I intend to make a decision on it. Tiger and Gunnar, we're about 3 minutes to deadline, guys. Make sure you're locked in. Tiger and Gunnar, hey, James. Arsenal will beat Everton 2-0. They won't draw, mate. They haven't lost on a Friday night fixture. Amazing that, mate. Brilliant. Thanks. I actually think Everton are more likely winners of that game tonight. Matthew James, hi. Fernandes and Saka to Greenwood and Lingard. Not keen. Rowan Ayres start 2 out of Reece James, Ricardo Pereira, Matteo Vidra. The last 2, mate. Ivan Jovic, Patricio or Martinez. Super Tiger. Hi, James. Just wanted to say good luck for the final. Come you Spurs. Thank you. Adam Cowley, Bruno, Jota, Iheanacho for captain. Who are you saying? Exactly who's on the screen, Adam. Raggle says, Iheanacho or Jota, whom to captain? Exactly who's on the screen, Raggle. Do call again. Super Tiger, get a second Villa defender. Have Martinez already or get an Everton defender. If you can get to Luca Dean, get Luca Dean. Otherwise, it's safer to go with a Villa player at the moment, in my opinion. As long as you can bench them in some of the upcoming game weeks, like next week, you may feel you want to. Eliezer says, who should I bring in? Maddison or Greenwood for Son? It's going to be Maddison for me. Darshall, Rafinha to Maddison and Kane to Vardy. Question, you can do, but what are you going to do about Harry Kane next week? Pete Haley, Webster, Alioski or Ward for 4.3. Any of them for one game. For one game? I don't think you can fancy Ward or Alioski for a return. To be honest, if that was me in that position, I would go Webster and I'd take the chance that he plays. There is a little bit of doubt for that. You're not going to expect massive off the other two anyway. Webster's by far the more likely to get you the returns. Lincoln Beggs, holding to Veltman for a free. I have 2 frees and no other issues. You have no other issues and you got 2 frees. Okay, right. Well, you've worked into a very good position this week. Yes, I don't mind that. I literally would only advise that if you've got nothing but do and you're a bit unsure. Otherwise, I'd say hold for the moment. But if you don't know what to do, I don't mind it. It's fine. It's definitely better for this week. It might not be necessarily going forward, but I think strategy-wise, you're about on the money there. Definitely keep rolling if you can. Chris Ewers, hi James. Which 2 to bench from Shaw, Saiz, Veltman, Rudiger, Christensen? Love the pods today. You're very welcome, Chris. Thank you. Christensen, I don't foresee playing. Don't particularly fancy Chelsea for a clean sheet anyway. Luke Shaw's not a player you should particularly leave out. And I fancy Veltman for a clean sheet over the others. And so you want one more. I would just about favour Saiz over Rudiger. So bench the 2 Chelsea players. Oh, you're not going to like that, are you? Ahmet says, hi James. Hello, Ahmet. FPL Warrior, I've got Jota and Nacho. Should I get in Salah for Son or Bruno or Vardy for Bamford all day long for me? Amit Yallas, is Bruno red line? Bruno red line? What does that mean? Is he like standing out at night? Mark says, hey James, are we overhyping Leicester players for this game week? Roy has had 2 long weeks to prepare his team for this game and has had more defenders back from injury. It's not just this game, is it? There's 2 more games to go. I fancy them for another routine win. I don't think they'll go mad, personally. But yeah, quite straightforward in my opinion. Quite straightforward. Pan Z, hi James, Trossard or Sigurdsson? Trossard. Do you know what? Sigurdsson entered my brain today and I'm not joking. And as soon as he did, I was like, what are you doing, James? Mr. Giles, would you take a -4 to have a playing goalkeeper? No. Have you definitely not got one? Like, have you got like Forster and Aina? Not Aina, Areola. If you've got like those 2 and you want to go Martinez for the end of the season, you know you've got a double game week coming up as well and a good fixture to cover in game week 36, then I'd say yeah. But just like for a 1 week, no. I probably wouldn't bother. Sana says Laka and Neto out for Vardy and Bissouma/Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe over Bissouma. Or Maddison and Watkins already have Nacho. Don't worry about the fact you've already got Nacho. Vardy and probably Vardy and Smith Rowe, I think, actually, for me. Vabev says Davis and Reggie to Welbeck and Veltman or David. It's loads of fucking Davids, mate. Do you mean Davis again? And Son and Reggie to DCL and Greenwood and Veltman constant for -4. Sounds like you're trying to force things, mate. I'd go with the more straightforward. I'm not convinced that Danny Welbeck will play this week, honestly. Really not convinced about that at all. Alright, let's check live time. I believe we're probably deadline past, guys. Get your teams locked in. I am going to jump the questions till the end. If you've got any non-FPL questions, drop them in the chat now. But I would see there's one non-FPL one I see on the screen from Nick Jones. It says, hey James, thoughts on Graham Potter as next Spurs manager? Will you do a pod on who you want as next manager? Yes, definitely. It'll probably be on Patreon. I'm not going to lie, because we do our Tottenham and West Ham podcast every Tuesday. That's where I'm going to mention it first. First choice would probably be Nagelsmann. I'm pretty sure, Nick, that I spoke about Potter on one of the podcasts we did earlier this week, and I'd take him. I'd not be disappointed if Graham Potter was Tottenham's next manager. I enjoy watching Brighton so much. One of the things I've thrown out this week: where would Brighton have finished if Harry Kane played for them? Well, the answer, without question, in my opinion, is above Tottenham. So really, really like what he's doing there. I think he's doing a great job. What concerns me about him is sometimes I want him to, when I hear him talk, I think you're a bit bland. But I think a lot of the players appreciate that kind of calming influence these days. But I'd like him to be a bit more authoritative when he speaks sometimes. It's just a personal judgment. But otherwise, I think he's doing an amazing job. I would not complain if he was my manager, honestly. Right, let's look for some non-FPL questions. Thank you, Darshil. Thank you, Niels. Thank you, Vabav. Torbjan says, lovely pods this week, James. Best of luck this week to you and the other listeners. Thank you. Good luck to everybody. If you're obviously leaving the stream now, do remember to hit the like button and subscribe on your way out so you know when Planet FPL podcasts go live. Schedule for next week, I can confirm and tell you now, will be People's Poll podcast on Monday. It's going to be something Super League related, but probably more driven in. So it might be like 50+1 fan ownership. It might be a deep dive into Real Madrid. Something like that. It's not just going to be a repeat of kind of all the stuff we've done on that as well. We released a podcast on Wednesday on Patreon, which we've made available for everybody. It's only 35 minutes long, called The Death of the Super League. So you can find that on my Twitter timeline. If you can't find it, message me either in the comments on YouTube. If you want to have a listen to it, message. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Spotify. It's literally only available via that Patreon link. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to put your name in or anything. It's just that's the only place the link is available. If you want it, put a note in the comments and I'll copy the link in for you. Or DM me on Twitter if you can't find it, and I'll find you the link there as well. Tuesday will be main podcast. We'll review all the game week 33 action. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football 2 Clash of the Correspondents for you next week. Thursday will be Adam Hotcroft and Spirit Blues, Sean Norton, previewing Everton versus Aston Villa, which, remember, those two teams are likely to double in game week 35, which will include another fixture against each other. We was going to do it in 35, but I thought, well, let's bring it forward. Let's do it in 34. And on Friday, I've also got Jack Toner at Turfy Topper and Chris Stone, FPL Sky Addict, previewing Burnley West Ham. That'll go out early next Friday as well. Deadline stream will obviously be same time next week. Farzi said, do you think Spurs have any chance without Kane on Sunday? A chance, yes, but I don't think, in all honesty, I don't actually think sacking Mourinho gives us more chance this weekend. I don't necessarily think it gives us less either. It certainly gives me a more positive feeling towards the game at the weekend. Have we got a chance without him? Yes, because the Flippy's alternative of that is we'll probably play with 3 quick forwards, and it's the one thing over the top that City can potentially struggle with, but then someone else has got to be able to play the pass in the first instance. So obviously we would be worse off for Kane not being available. Would I say it gives us no chance? Nah. Listen, one thing we should all respect after what's happened this week is that 11 people go on a football pitch and the ball is round and there's a goal at each end, and whoever scores the most goals wins. There's never a no chance. Remember when Marine hit the crossbar against Tottenham at 0-0? There's always a chance. Zayn Ali, hi James, why do you think Tottenham's protest was so lacklustre compared to Chelsea's and Arsenal's? Man United's over the weekend looked like it's going to be big too. I don't know what's going on at Arsenal at the moment, so you're more in, I've not looked at my phone or anything, so you're more in the know than me in terms of what's going on there. I think a couple of things influenced it. One is, first and foremost, the time. So, obviously, Chelsea played 8 o'clock Tuesday. We played 6 o'clock Wednesday. Chelsea's central London, Tottenham's not. So, in terms of people getting there from work, not many people were in Tottenham. And not many Tottenham fans live in Tottenham either, right? Listen, other than the stadium, the area's a dump. It's a shithole, but it's our shithole. So, that's a big impact. 8 p.m. on a Friday night or 12:30 on a Saturday, these things were a lot easier to organise and stuff. And also, I think there is still a little bit of a split amongst Spurs fans. So the protest at Chelsea on Tuesday was obviously very much about the Super League. Then obviously, I felt it necessary to go, and I did go on Wednesday, to protest against what Levy and the owners of Tottenham had done. And I think the main thing was that at least we got the message out. There might have only been a few hundred there, but we were all still on the back page of the papers the next day. It was covered on Sky Sports News as a protest. It did the job. It did what it needed to do. Was I disappointed that there wasn't 2,000 people there? Yes, but then positively, I was able to social distance quite comfortably throughout. So there's positives and negatives. In the case of Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United, I think there is no doubt that they want, respectively, Kroenke, FSG and the Glazers. The fans of those football clubs want those people out of their clubs. At Tottenham, there is still a split, to the extent that last week I would have said, no, look, I'm okay with what Daniel Levy's doing. I don't agree with everything he does, but I always believe his decisions are based on trying to make the right decisions for Tottenham. It's changed now because I can't trust him to make those decisions anymore. And it's the lack of fan consultation. It's disgusting. And I know with Levy, he'd go and do it again. He's only pulled out because others have pulled out, certain of it. And he'd go and do it again without consulting. Whereas at least even what Arsenal's done is the same. But to be fair, even the noise out of Arsenal, their statement was a proper apology. And even I think one of them has said that if they ever did decide to go for it again, they would at least talk to the supporters first. Tottenham won't. So I think there was a number of things that affected why Tottenham's was less. The main things being fan split opinion. The time was a shitter, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, and there is still a little bit of split and location. Even Arsenal Central London, so easy to get to. Tottenham's not. It's fucking ball ache. Why do you want to go to Tottenham? You can go to Chelsea, go out and have dinner afterwards or something. You can go to Arsenal, you've got Upper Street and Holloway Road and go and have a beer afterwards or whatever. There's so many things you can do. You can go to Tottenham and just turn around and leave. That's what I did. There's no reason to go to Tottenham other than watch the football team. Shane083 said, do you see Liverpool jumping right back into the top couple of favourites for the league next season? Yes. Yes, I would expect that, mate. John Kedwood said, good luck to the 14. Damnation to the sordid selfish 6. We will accept any punishment that we get, mate. You want to relegate my football team, I accept it. You won't get me complaining. I'd be disappointed from a fan perspective, but I'll accept it as a rightful punishment. Remember, though, that the Premier League wants to go after the owners, not the clubs. It's not fair on the players, the managers, the fans, even certain directors. Like I heard Paolo Maldini, who's a big director at AC Milan now, obviously legendary player for them. He had no idea what was going on, and yet it was left to him to do all the apologising for the way AC Milan acted. So there's people even within the club who work for the club don't deserve to get relegated. If you relegate Tottenham, staff at Tottenham will lose their jobs, etc. So we need to go after the owners, and that was part of my message Wednesday, and I'm sure whatever's going on at the Emirates right now, that's probably what they're doing as well. Lamici said, what did you think of Sarri's football at Chelsea, given the rumours that it will take over at Chelsea? Better than what I watched under Mourinho, in terms of at least it was possession based, but I found it too possession based personally. It smells to me of what AVB was trying to achieve. He would not be my first choice, Maurizio Sarri. It would be nowhere near it, in fact. But I guess watching us try and pass the ball would be better than what I have been watching. I just don't think it works in our league to be like that. Even Guardiola, it was always a slow tempo, it felt to me. City can control the game sometimes, but they pass with meaning. Under Sarri, I felt I watched Chelsea sometimes and it was passing for the sake of passing. Guardiola says, we don't pass for the sake of passing, we pass to try and move the opposition. Sarri, I felt like it was passing for the sake of passing. Berth Media says, hey James, who do you think leaves at Spurs this summer? Players. Oh, who do I think leaves? And in players? Well, I don't think Bale will get signed. Something could happen in the next couple of weeks that changes that. To be honest, if we see a good Gareth Bale over these last 6 games, and Tottenham want to take him on another year's loan, I won't complain, because it's the capability of what he can do against these weak sides, right? He's still a special talent. We know he's not the player that he was. You obviously have to factor the wages into that as well. But I think if that happened, it would just be another year's loan, to be honest, would be the most likely scenario. Who will leave? Well, part depends who the manager is. Really difficult to say. I don't think Kane will go. I don't think Kane will go, not because he doesn't want to go necessarily. I just don't see who's going to pay the money for him. Even more so now. I mean, if this Super League thing had gone through, then everybody would have had the money to buy him, wouldn't they? But that's not happened now. So I guess these clubs who were thinking they might have been coming into the finances this summer to actually spend the money that we didn't think they would have, they now haven't got what they thought they were going to have. So see him probably staying. Son's actually just as interesting because he's only got 2 years left on the contract as opposed to Kane. Anybody else who leaves, I'm not bothered about. Anybody. They can all go. There needs to be a clear out, and we need to go back and do what made us successful in the first place, in my opinion, and target best young players, not just from Europe but also in Britain. We need to go back to that. We obviously changed philosophy recently because of the manager that was put in charge to work on a short-term basis. You accept that if Mourinho's your manager, you don't think long-term. The best thing, what's been successful for Tottenham over the last 15 years is thinking long-term, and I think we should go back to doing that. Graf Filkov says, hi James, today what is your team would it be for next season? Good luck this week. I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking me for FPL? Or are you asking me for Tottenham or England? Oh, sorry mate, I'm not sure I understand the question. Neil Zappel's favourite F1 team can be historic. I've no clue. I've never thought of it as a preference from that perspective. I want the British driver to do well. So I've never thought of it that way. To think, oh yeah, Ferrari. I mean, most people say naturally like Ferraris. It's red. I'm not interested in that shit. Torbjorn says, thoughts on the dynamics between Mason and Kane. Oh, Ryan Mason. I've read that as Mason Mount for some reason. Sorry. Is Mason calling the shots, or do you think Kane influences tactical decisions? No, Mason will be calling the shots. Yeah, honestly. I don't doubt that he'll probably, if Harry Kane's going to play, Mason would be silly not to be asking Kane's opinion on certain things. Absolutely silly not to. And the same goes for a few other experienced players as well within that makeup. But no, I think Mason's in charge, and I don't doubt that for a second. He's got an opportunity to earn the job, honestly. What's to say? The thing is, everyone's got to start somewhere, right? So most Tottenham fans at the moment would choose Julian Nagelsmann. If we can get Julian Nagelsmann, I'm happy with that as well. Absolutely no complaints. But he had to start somewhere as a very young manager, right? What's to say Ryan Mason's not the next Julian Nagelsmann? Don't know to at least look, right? And I guess that's why the look's there. If you've got a manager who's 29, who in 2-3 years could be the next Nagelsmann, why wouldn't you just give him the job? Let's give him a chance. Let's see what happens in these next few games. Let's give him a chance. I wouldn't say it's impossible that he becomes the permanent manager, actually. I don't think he will, but I don't think it's impossible. Alejandro says, thank you very much for all the content. You guys are fucking awesome. Appreciate all your responses. Good luck. Thank you, mate. John Simpson, do you think Mourinho would suit any Premier League team, or do you think he's finished? Time for a national team. I think he's absolutely finished, mate. I think anybody who wants to appoint him as a manager, including Portugal, for example, they should check him for a date. Make sure he's not wearing a coat that's likely flammable with 2016 on it or something. Do not use after this date. It's done for me. I keep hearing this theory that he'd be good for international football. Why? Why? In a cup competition, why? I don't see it. For me, he's finished. It's genuinely finished. It's a dinosaur. He's so done. He's so done. He just reverts to the same old things. What's he going to do? The thing is, if he's Portugal manager, what is he going to moan about? Who can he moan about? He's got no choice but to moan about the players. Can't moan at the board or anything. He can't moan at people for not being Portuguese. So who's he going to? The only people he can moan about, take the pressure himself, players, isn't it? So it'll soon fucking bust up with them, no doubts. Camberley Labacta says, a random end of pod question. I live in Liverpool. My brother lives in Finchley. And my sister lives in Canada Waters. I've never been to either. What are they like, mate? you live in Liverpool, so you don't need to know what Liverpool's like. Canada Water, I'm not that familiar with, to be very honest. I try not to go near south of the river. Finchley has good parts and bad parts. Finchley has some lovely parts, some very expensive houses. It also has some. It's like a lot of major. You'll know this, right? Liverpool's got some nice areas and some not so nice places, and it's the same. London's like that, and I guess in London you even get that within places like boroughs. Like I live in Enfield. I think I live on the nice side of Enfield. There's a shitter part of Enfield. I can mainly thank my wife for that. Nothing particularly that I've done. But yeah, even within boroughs, you have good parts and bad parts. I'm not familiar enough with Canada Water. Finchley generally is fine. Generally speaking, fine. As he said, good luck for the week, James. I went to the test event between Leicester and Southampton last week. Terrible game. Who do you think is the most improved footballer in the Premier League this season? For me, I would have to say Jack Grealish has gone to different levels this season. Obviously, really unfortunate he's injured at the moment. I'd have to say Jack Grealish has gone from huge promise to top level. By the way, it's rumoured from sources that he's going to be joining Manchester City this summer, but you didn't hear that from me. Martin Boyle, UEFA and FIFA are only marginally less bad than the Super League. Agree. How would you restructure the Champions League if you would at all? Do you think there's too much football? Me, if I'd restructure it, I'd do what I said on the Ask James stream I did for patrons yesterday. 128 teams, knockout competition, go. 2 legs, 1-legged final. That's it. There are 128 teams in. There's more teams in the competition. Less games. So what's that? So you'd have like 6 knockout ties and then a final. 13 games. These group stage bollocks is all bollocks. It's all about more guaranteed games to generate more money. Could you imagine a 128 team knockout Champions League draw with no seeding? That in itself would be more exciting than any fucking group game you're going to watch in this revamped shit. It was the lesser of the two evils. We'll never get back to the knockout competition, which obviously it always was because it was a product of the European Cup before it was the Champions League. But we'll never get there because the big clubs would be too petrified. Imagine Barcelona drawing Real Madrid, even though 2 from the same country. Imagine Barcelona drawing Real Madrid in the first round of that. Fucking hell. Or City drawing United, or United drawing Liverpool, or even to put it a different way, United drawing Barcelona in the first round, or City drawing Real Madrid in the first round. How good would that be? Be brilliant. We have that in the FA Cup. Well, we're going to make the FA Cup a pyramid system now to make sure that the 6 greedy clubs all get to at least the last 16 or something. Come on. The essence of football is that I'd even that group stage of Champions League, no seeding. Get rid of the seeding. It's 32 teams earned the right to be there. Put them in the fucking hat. If you want to keep countries away from clubs from the same country apart, get that completely. And I do prefer that. It's not particularly enjoyable drawing someone from your own country in the Champions League. I experienced that. I won it. It's not great fun. I'd rather play a European team. That's the idea of being in it. But yeah, why not have these? And then you have super games at the start. They'd be too worried, wouldn't they? They go out in the first round, they lose out on all the money. You want a Super Cup competition for Europe to make it the best competition. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. No doubt about it, but it will never happen, unfortunately. We'll never go back to straight knockout competition. These lot would rather, I'm sure they don't want the last 16. They'd probably rather have like from quarterfinals or semi-finals or something. Or maybe even from the last 16 have another group stage. They want guaranteed matches, guaranteed money. That's what this is about. We'll never be able to fight that back, unfortunately, because that's something we allowed in the first instance. The Champions League as it is now is okay. To be honest, even as it is now with the 8 groups of 4, I wouldn't have a problem in terms of making it better if you want more guaranteed games. Let 64 teams in. Let 64 teams in. More choice of what games you watch. And have a last 32 knockout stage. There's 2 extra games for you. More cup football, the better. Super Tiger says, James, do you think the Super League would have been less criticised if Sky had the broadcasting rights? Neville was dominant voice driving the criticism. Notice the lack of comments about the new Champions League format. One thing at a time. This is what I've kind of been preaching since is, like there, I've just been scathing of the Champions League. the message had to be driven so much. I know so many people, and I said this again on our Patreon pod Wednesday, said wish that UEFA would show us as strong a stance against racism as what they showed for this, and I quite agree. But this was the problem at the time, and I think it became a tipping point where we have to go, right, this needs dealing with, and this is why people like me still went and protested on Wednesday, because to then push through the next things. So fans get a say. And fans getting a say filters down to lots of things like future allocations of tickets, season ticket pricing, allocation at cup finals, which are ridiculous. So many things that actually have a say within our football club and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's part of the principal idea. I can't go and protest particularly about trolls on Twitter saying racist things to footballers. For me, what we have to do now is pressure the social media companies, and that's the next big step. So we had Rangers, Swansea, and I've forgotten another club. I can't remember who it was. There were 3 clubs, might have been Birmingham, maybe, I can't remember, forgive me, who went on a week-long social media blackout to kind of stand up against racism. But if you organise it properly, everybody do it. Everybody do it. Like Tottenham and Man City couldn't join in because they had a cup final to organise and their fans need to know what's happening about tickets. So that's the sort of thing. Let's come back together and make a stand, everybody, and say, we're going to do it. And then I'd fucking do it as well. Maybe everyone else would do it. And then maybe these companies will see when their social media engagements are going down and down and down and stuff. Then you have an effect. It's brilliant and very noble of the likes of a Swansea to do that, but on your own, it doesn't do anything. Organise things properly as a collective and then get your voice across. George, non-FPL related, have you listened to TalkSport? Do I know? Have I? Yes. Plenty in the car over the years, like if I've been with my dad or something like that. TalkSport or 5 Live. To be honest, I saw something today on my timeline which I haven't watched yet, where they had Robbie on from AFTV, and they're shouting about AFTV want Arsenal to lose and all this stuff. Listen, some of them might. I promise you, Robbie's as big an Arsenal fan as there is around. I'm certain he's a good bloke. And I think he generally wants what's best for Arsenal. It's all the characters that go with it is what makes it quite annoying. But TalkSport, that's what they do. They're looking for clicks and views, doing the same thing. They're actually doing the same. While accusing Robbie, they're in there trying to get their media clicks and whatnots. That's what you've got guys on there on TalkSport who talk absolute nonsense just for clicks and viewers and stuff, just for the sake of it. They don't even. Adrian Durham's a great example. Adrian Durham don't believe in half the shit that comes out of his mouth, but he says it because it causes controversy and gets people to phone in and all that. He's very good at what he does from that perspective. He don't believe half the shit that comes out of his mouth. He can't do, because it's mental stuff sometimes that he says. No, I don't listen to talk shite anymore. Paul Tinkler, are we going to hear you cheering on your boys in this final? Well, one thing I learned on Wednesday is it's very difficult to sing with a mask on. But I'm going to have a go. I got a shit seat. I'm going to try and see if I can move that shit seat. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. But we're going to try. Here's hoping. I've got to pass this COVID test tomorrow first. Kevin Remy, how do you think you will celebrate if you win the cup? First one in ages. I think I'll probably come back here with my dad, go and sit in the garden and have a couple of beers, which I haven't done for absolutely ages. And it's with that in mind, where I'll probably put people's poll vote out tomorrow rather than Sunday, so I can do some research Saturday night just in case. That's the plan. Well, he doesn't know it yet. To be honest, I haven't thought too much about winning because I'm not expectant to, but it would nice to do something and have a little beer somewhere with my dad or something would be cool. Lado Tree says, should I worry without Fernandes game week 34 onward if he keeps blank? I'm not doing it. Lado, thanks for your question. No offence, mate. I've done FPL to death for an hour, mate. I'm not going to do any more FPL. You probably should have worried about Fernandes weeks ago anyway. Joe Stang, hi James, terrific stream as always. Do you think the Premier League will punish the Six with fines, point deductions? Do you think they should? I'd strongly recommend listening to that podcast we did on Patreon Wednesday, which, as I said earlier, is available to everybody. My idea is that the other 14 clubs have the power now, and they should be getting the big six round the table to sign all the shit that the other 14 want them to agree to. to make sure this doesn't happen again. And if they agree to everything, then let them off of fines and point deductions and all that sort of thing. If they don't agree to it, kick them out the league. Fuck them. Just fuck them. But the best thing really would be to get the government involved so we can change ownership in some way. That's the biggest thing. It's easy to group the clubs, as I said, but we're talking about a group here of maybe, I think, between the 6 clubs, maybe a maximum of 25 or 30 people. Do the millions of fans who support these clubs deserve to suffer? Because if they did get thrown out, let's say these clubs got thrown into League 2 and the owners then went, okay, fine, I'll sell. Who suffers? Not the people that should suffer. It's everybody else involved in the football club that suffers. So we have to get the owners. That's the point. Eric, do you think Kane will be out? I think that if he can train tomorrow, play on Sunday. I'm very calm about it. As he says, Levy getting an easier time before he is not an American owner, perhaps. There seems to be a lot of energy hauled at the Americans more. To be fair, Azzy, I'd not thought of it like that, but it's a possibility. Whether we like it or not, there is a, or you're not one of us anyway. Whereas, yes, Daniel Levy did go to Tottenham as a child. It's true. Stian says, which is why I hope he listens and he's hurt by what's happened. Because I the one thing I won't doubt him for, I do know that he cares. And I do know that in his opinion will have been the same as what Arsenal said yesterday. Do you want Tottenham in the Super League, or do you want a Super League without Tottenham? Well, if he'd have asked us, I can tell you 100% that from the paying fans, the answer would be, fuck it off. We don't want it. We'd rather not be involved. But he thought it would be the other way round. And that's where these all got it wrong. Stian said, bit of a future FPL question. I sold Kane for Vardy and the original thought was going back in 34. But it was a hit, one of many this game week. So I might just hold Vardy. Will Kane be a FOMO cap against Sheffield United? Well, he might be, mate. But it's also going to be the best captain, isn't he? There's not a doubt in my mind, personally, if he's fit. David Jones says we need to adopt German models where clubs are majority owned by supporters. How we get there is anyone's guess. Azzy, what do you think of former footballers calling out fan channels? Do you think fan channels are a good thing for football? It's kind of what I covered about Talkshy earlier. Fan engagement, right? It's okay. That's the way the world's moving. It's all right. What's this? It's almost like an FPL fan engagement chat, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't have too much of a problem with it. Dixie Normad's first time -12. Not doing FPL now, Dixie, but thanks. Atul says, want to give you a hypothetical scenario. You're an international fan, have no allegiances, and you just started watching the Premier League. How would you go about picking a club to support? Would you? I can't go and pick another one. If Tottenham went out of business tomorrow, there is no. I'd probably go and follow England. That would just England would matter more to me. That's it. How would you choose now? Well, some people don't get a choice. I wasn't given a choice. I got told you're Tottenham and that's the end of it. It gets passed through family trees, or it has something to do with where you live, or it's the first team you watch, or there's a number of reasons. How would I can't tell you how I'd choose, because I wouldn't. If you give me the choice, I can't. There would never be another team. I would just care more about England. That's all I could think to say. Super Tiger says the fake righteousness of the fans from the other 14 is ironic, considering many of them were quick to call for null and void and the lack of caring of players. 5 subs choice. Yeah, listen, they ain't perfect either. Like UEFA ain't perfect. Absolutely. Ray Koreshi, on the way home from the protest, James, did you see AFTV and Parlo arguing on TalkSport? Bloody embarrassing. I haven't seen it yet, but I kind of got the principal idea of it on my timeline. I do want to catch up on that, yeah. JT, hi James, have you seen the footage outside the Emirates? No, I haven't, because I've been doing the stream. Adam Mack 83, do you think Jose will go to Wolves? I've heard Nuno is your next manager. Feel sorry for Wolves if that happens. No, he won't, because his ego's too big. Shano 83, Jose has done a dusted. Ray Koreshi, lived in Canada, walked for 9 months on the river and can catch a boat to Canary Wharf. Pretty nice. Shano 83, star with stales, cats, piss. I presume that's Mourinho. Lalu says, anyway, James, lots of thanks. 1:45 in the morning from Indonesia here. You rock, thank you. Bloody hell, it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning now. Thank you, Lalu. Darshall says, UCL predictions, null and void. I think PSG are going to win it. Super Tiger, if you were the owner of Spurs, what structural changes would you make Would you include other fans on the board? Yes. We just want to have a say. That's it. Just consultation. Doesn't even need to be ownership. I need to investigate this 50+1, see if fan ownership is even right for a club like Tottenham or an Arsenal or something. I need to genuinely investigate it, and I haven't had the time. Genuinely, I couldn't told you a clue of what I was doing in my FPL team. So the first time I looked was after the Leicester game last night. Not a Scooby. I've been way too busy with this Super League stuff this week. That's the biggest thing we want. I hope that fans have learnt these days that it's not all about, I spend the bloody money. It's not your money. There's more important things like ownership and a belonging. When I say ownership of the feeling that you have. It's why Tottenham fans harp on about the Pochettino team. It's because we felt a part of it on the journey. We really did. We felt like we could be a part of that. We were a group, a collective. That dies with people like Mourinho and the football and stuff. How can you fucking like that guy? It's a parasite. Colin Con, big protest at the Emirates, looks impressive. Good. Well, I'm pleased to hear that. Vishwamp says, what are your thoughts on Ryan Mason? I've heard he's highly rated. Want to hear your thoughts. It's difficult to say. Loved him as a player. I think, obviously, he played 4-2-3-1 the other night. But if he was going to do something different against City, I don't know why he was shown his cards. He probably is a 4-2-3-1 disciple because he'll be heavily influenced by Pochettino. Really likeable guy. Was obviously at Tottenham from 8. Very much loved by the fans. Had a good relationship. Left on good terms. Really likeable guy. Is he tactically astute enough? Is he good enough coach? I ain't got a clue, mate. But I'm happy to see him given the chance for the last few games. No problem with that at all. I prefer Mason having the end of the season than, say, a Hoddle or a Redknapp or an experienced name who would maybe already know the club. I mean, I would have preferred that to Mourinho. But I'm happy for Ryan to get given the chance. I mean, Monday morning, if we lose 5-0 on Sunday, I might feel differently. I'd be like, this isn't going to work. But give him a chance. Imagine if he wins on Sunday for him as a 29-year-old. How incredible would that be? Dally Paul says, would you not have preferred Jose just for the final because of his record than bin him? Nah, fuck him. And final question, Stian Bostel says, homemade. By the way, I don't think we got a better chance on Sunday sacking him, but I don't care. I'm just pleased that he's gone. Stian Bostel says, homemade or takeaway? It seems like the go-to in the UK tends to be takeaway. The average Norwegian spends 1 hour in a kitchen daily. At least I do. I spend about... How much time do I spend in the kitchen a day? I reckon about a minute, and it's probably going in and out the kitchen twice. That's probably about me. Thanks very much, guys. I have to leave it there. I've gone on quite a bit. It's gonna have been well over an hour and a half now. Thank you very much for all your contributions. Much appreciated. Wish you all good luck for the week. Obviously, you can support the content on Patreon. We have 5 additional podcasts between Monday and Friday on intermediate tier, and we have daily articles and videos from advanced tier on Patreon as well. And obviously you can access the Slack channel from £3 a month as well, which gives you additional stuff like the last 2 Ask James streams I've done have been available exclusively for patrons. They've been available on that level. The community's got about 400 in there now. Brilliant thriving community. Everyone's great. Just think of it as several large WhatsApp DM group chats or Twitter DM group chats, and everybody's really, really nice to each other. It's just a fucking nice bubble of Twitter. And it's our community, and it's growing, and we'd love you to be a part of it if you want to support the content. Other than that, guys, wish you really good luck for the game week ahead. We'll be back on Monday with a people's poll. That vote will probably go out on Twitter at some point tomorrow. Have a great weekend, guys. Speak soon. Ciao for now.